Joining us today is a product of Richmond Hill, Ontario. He is known for his heavy hitting, physical play, work in the community, and of course, his luscious locks. He was undrafted into the NHL and has gone on to play 262 games in the minors, along with 257 games in the NHL. He is a 2024 Stanley Cup champion with the Florida Panthers, and most importantly, father to Roman and Lennon. It is my pleasure to welcome Ryan Lomberg to the BuzzPod. What's up, Lombo?
Hell yeah. What an intro. Thanks for having me, fellas. I'm excited to be here, man. It's been a long time coming, but we finally made it happen.
You're damn right. You're damn right, man. We're so happy to have you on. And I just want to kind of kick this off. Obviously, we're going to get into the Stanley Cup and that run and all that, but we actually wanted to start this off where it all started back in Richmond Hill, Ontario. Can you just talk a little bit about what it was like growing up for you there and how you actually got into hockey?
Yeah, it was kind of typical Toronto suburb. Every kid around plays hockey in some capacity, whether it's either road hockey on the pond or organized hockey, free skates, stuff like that. So it was kind of just surrounding me as a kid. And, my parents put me on the ice as early as I can remember. I think I started skating right when I was around 2. Started really playing when I was around 3. And then, ever since then, obviously, been playing a lot. My dad growing up would build the rink for me in the backyard every winter. So, I was on the ice a ton. It was always so much fun. He would jump a net for me, and I'd always be playing with him. And neighbors would come over once we got the rink going during the winter. So it was just kind of ever since I was a kid, everything was hockey. I played other sports growing up, but hockey was really the one that I loved the most and had the most fun playing. And when I look back on my childhood and the Richmond Hill days, all I think about is the backyard rink, buddies coming over after school, before and after practice, and those are some great memories.
That is great. What other sports did you play?
I played soccer, was really the only other one I played like relatively competitively. And then I think it was around like 13, 14, it kind of came to that decision point where, you come to the fork in the road and you're either going to go one way or the other. And, I chose hockey, and it seemed to be working out pretty well.
Man, you'd be getting red cards all day in soccer. All day.
Oh man, it's funny. I know it's actually me and Easy. We played soccer growing up, and we were always, like a couple of the better players on the team, and our celebrations when we used to score were like outrageous. Like we would do the best sallies. We'd have so much fun sallying. The dives we would throw on that field, like we would be diving all over the place. Oh, it was so much fun. So much fun.
Red
When
cards.
DC goes to give you a tap on the shoulder and you just fall and try to sell a call, it's like, hey, it's me, Lombo.
Oh man, yeah, no kidding. I know we both had the flow going too. Like I had the long hair back then too. Blender had it.
Yeah.
We were flopping and selling all over the place.
But man, you mentioned your dad getting a net to play goalie. Like, was he a goalie growing up, or is that just the grit of the Lomberg family? Like, I'm just gonna hop in net.
Yeah, he actually played like I think he stopped at like junior B in Cornwall where he grew up. So he played a little bit of goalie, yeah, and he kind of played men's league, so he had the pillows laying around. And we also had like an unfinished basement, so he would always go in that. He just ways to make it more fun for me, so I'd stay engaged. And funny enough, I like if street hockey, mini sticks, I always wanted to be a goalie too. Like for some reason, I always wanted to go in net. Probably because of him. And then once you get dinged a couple of times and the shots get too hard, you realize that it's not so much fun after all. So it was great.
You probably wanted to be goalie because you're fucking crazy, man. Those guys are bananas. I actually went as a goalie in morning skate one time when I was suspended in the coast. And it was the scariest thing ever, bro. It's like, it's nothing like blocking a shot because you're literally just standing there. These guys are shooting it right at you. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you got to get in the way to save it. That's crazy. I know. And like, obviously the gear is like great and they don't really feel, but there is like that psychological thing going on where like, you want to move out of the way because it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, it must not hurt that much. Like, because Bob's crazy, man. Bob loves taking, well, I wouldn't say loves taking him off the head, but he doesn't hate it. Like,
Feels good.
every once in a while, you ding him in the head and you go up and say sorry. He's like, no, it's all good. I love it. I love it. And like, kind of shoos you away. So,
Well, you love guys like
crazy.
that,
These
man.
guys.
That's you love goalies like that, and you love guys like you played hockey long enough. You've played with goalies that at the end of practice, they want to stay on. They want to be a part of that rebound. They want to be a part of that 3-puck. They want to compete with the boys. And I'd say 80% of goalies I played with don't like to do that, but then there's that 20% that are just dogs and just always like, they don't mind getting hit in the head. They don't mind like the shot here and there. They don't mind the extra passing, right in front of them, where some goalies are like, dude, fuck off,
Yeah, they love to battle.
Yeah, exactly. There is that that group of goalies that loves that too. I find like you'd be lucky if you have like one of each, right? Like you got one guy that's kind of does his own thing and is what it is. Hopefully stops a lot of pucks, and then the other guy is just there for the boys and willing to compete, like you guys are saying, and stay out however long you want, break, blaze, 2-puck, rebound, all those games that are complete baggers for the goalies. They're just jumping right back up, ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, and growing up in Ontario, I played in the GTHL a little bit, had a small cup of coffee, but I know how big of a deal it is when you're a young cat, like you're going to the GTHL. That's where the scouts from the OHL go to watch and all that. So you go to the GTHL and brother, 91 points in 64 games, 52 goals, 39 assists. How you doing? You actually get drafted 4th round, 68th overall by the Peterborough Petes in the Ontario Hockey League. And I'm actually really interested because I started this podcast back in the day because I went major junior without knowing anything, and there's so many rules there, and I thought I was going to get rich playing major junior, but then I got there and it was 80 Canadian a week. I was like, Jesus Christ. But anyway, so I just wanted to know like your mindset. Like you grew up in Ontario, the OHL is like the show HL, so what went into that decision of like not going to the OHL? Did you go to camp? Like what was that process like?
Yeah, that's a good question because like you said, I know like pretty much every kid when we were growing up, all they want to do is play in the OHL. That's really the only option. Nowadays, I think obviously colleges has gotten way bigger rep for how good it is and how it can help develop kids and everything that comes with it, top prospects, all that. So for me, I actually got lucky. I was the coaches of my team. They were amazing coaches. Frank Pietrangelo actually won a cup with Pittsburgh. He was a goalie there, and then Lindsey Hofford, who was like, he was like, high up in the, like with the London Knights. I can't remember if it was like coaching or player development or management, some capacity. So they were my 2 coaches growing up. Their kids played on the team. We always had one of the best teams around. We always had, some of the best players around. And so Frank went to college, and that year, that minor midget year, the draft year of the OHL, we would always go and tour. We go play, tournaments in the States, and we go tour whatever. We went to like Michigan State because there's a tournament in Michigan. We go to like big colleges and go on these visits. So we were kind of exposed to this, other route that is available for everybody. And we're watching these games, and these facilities are incredible, and the parents are loving it because they're going to get the kid's going to get the education. It's like this whole perfect thing. And obviously, from Ontario, you're not really exposed to that because of the business that major junior is. They just, it's a good product. It is what it is. But, I'm one of the guys who believes that college is a better route for 95% of the players. Yeah. They're so I got lucky that I was exposed to it, fairly early on. And I kind of was getting a lot of interest from schools as well. And I kind of got a family advisor at that point. And it was kind of there were some great programs after me, and I would have kind of gotten up caught up in the mix of like the whole OHL draft thing, top couple rounds, you either make it or you don't, and it's kind of over if you don't make it type thing. So yeah, I was lucky enough to have a lot of good guidance kind of at that point in my career, pushing me towards that. I think being a smaller guy too kind of helped. It was a little bit more my style of play, something I knew that I would have fit in better. I think I would have done, great in the OHL as well. But I think at that time I was lucky enough to kind of be educated in both paths, and I chose the one that I thought would benefit me the most.
Yeah, definitely. I think your game has grown to like now. I mean, you look back now and the Lorraine Lomberg that's on the sheet today would have lit up the Ontario Hockey League and been one of the toughest guys in it too. But
yeah,
I agree with you, man. I played major junior. I always say it on this pod. Like I would have gone NCAA if I knew like it expands your time. Like you have just more time to get ready.
That's the biggest thing, right? You got what, 4 years before you have to go, then you got 4 years when you're there, and like nowadays, all you need is one big year if you want to, do something pro. You have one big year in college, you sign, you give it a chance.
You're exactly right. When as you're playing pro, I find you realize more and more that you see college guys come in. And yeah, they're older. They're like 24, 25, but they're like already put in that spot where they have a good opportunity because they just lit up college at 24 years old. And it's like, there's guys that came in at 19, 20 that have been in pro, but because they weren't able to find their role right away, they're kind of in that bottom mix. And now like this college guy is going to go right into that top mix type of thing. Like you see it happen all the time. It's just more mature, more developed. You're going into your first year pro with a little bit of an advantage, I think. But Z just sent this question in. What other schools were you talking to?
Yeah.
Like BC was there, Vermont, out of the Hockey East schools, UMass. And then there were like a couple Ivy League ones that I considered too. Harvard was in the mix. Trying to think out west. Ohio State was kicking. So like we and I did a bunch of visits that year too. Obviously very thankful for my parents kind of buzzing me around, the country at that point. We would take visits when there was kind of a few days in the schedule where I can kind of get away from hockey and, tour school. And hopefully if there was a game going on, usually, Fridays, Saturdays, we would try to catch a game and take in the atmosphere and all that stuff. But yeah, I was lucky enough to kind of go visit quite a few schools and kind of get a feel for exactly the situation I wanted to be in.
Mm-hmm. What did Maine sell you on?
Oh man, if there was one thing, it was the atmosphere and the Alphond alone. I knew like as soon as the game, my first game, it was Nyquist was their best player, one of the best players in college at the time, and I think they were playing Merrimack, and he scored like a late tying goal, and the place was electric, and they scored the OT winner, and it was like, I remember it so vividly. I was like, the fans were going bananas. It was sold out. It was like the coolest thing ever, and to be asked to choose that school, I was like, yeah, this is the place I want to be. Just after seeing the environment, the atmosphere, and then, after digging deeper in the school and the people, the community, it was the best fit for myself at the time.
Yeah, dude, it is a pure hockey school. I played in Hockey East. I went to Northeastern for 4 years, and
okay.
I don't think we won a game in Maine my time there because of that atmosphere, man. Those students are like right on top of you. They like look over the goalie. We had a guest on at Maine earlier this summer, and he was kind of describing it. Dude, literally on top of the goalie is the exact way to put it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, there's like, yeah, it's insane. I remember, so my first visit there, this was like back in the day. I don't even know. Maybe I went there, I think 2012. So that would have been like 2010. There was no netting above the glass. So the students were like literally hanging over, and they'd be chirping the away goalies like so hard, right? Like Civ, all everything, all the names in the book. And the away goalies would like deflect the pucks up and send the pucks. They would like the guys would rip on the ice, and they would send them up at the fans, the students, and they would dodge them, and they keep chirping them. It was like it was insane. It was like the coolest thing ever. Yeah, man, they got hockey, beer, and cold weather. There's not much else going on up there. So it was yeah, very, very hockey oriented school, and I loved it.
That's
Man,
all time. So you
the
committed
rink
that year in 2010?
I can't remember what year I committed. Yeah, I committed pretty early on in my minor midget year.
Okay, okay. And so after that, you make the move to the Hill Academy, which is actually a really well-known prep school over there, and 99 points in 57 games. You needed one more. But like talk about like the decision to
They
go,
couldn't give it to me somewhere.
yeah, like a secondary assist. No one could have helped you out. But anyway, I'm sure someone could have done that for you. But you're at the Hill Academy, like who guided you to go there? And then you get drafted first round 6 overall to Muskegon. But just talk about your time at Hill Academy leading up to that USHL draft.
Yeah, the Hill was great for me. Again, it was Frank Pietrangelo and Lindsay Hufford, who moved over to the Hill after my minor midget year. They brought their sons as well, and we loaded up that team, and we played. We would load up the bus, and we would go every weekend. We'd travel the states and play the best prep schools, the best midget teams. So yeah, that was a tough decision because I was already committed to Maine at the time, and junior A in Canada, the league below the OHL. That's kind of really the only option at that time. So
Yeah,
I
the
thought
OJ, the
to
OJHL.
but yeah, the OJ. So that to play before college, and there's some controversy like going on in that league at the time, it kind of being like watered down and not the best competition, and I didn't really want to go there and not push myself. So I decided to go to the Hill with these coaches, and we had like I said, a stacked team. We would have similar guys in my situation. Devin Shore and Dan Renouf actually both committed to Maine later that year, while playing on the Hill. So I knew like practicing with these guys every day, and the Hill at that time, it was the first year of this hockey program. So it was like, you show up, you play a couple hours of hockey in the morning, you go to school, you work out after, and you go home. So it was like dialed in. Everybody's getting better. Everybody, you're playing against good players every day. Everybody's pushing each other. It was like a really good environment, to kind of just to get better. I knew the coaches. I knew they'd push me. Lindsay Hofford, Frank was more of the let the players use their imagination, and Lindsay Hofford was the stern, make sure you're working, and if you're not, you're hearing about it type coach. So the mix was great. And then I got drafted from there to the USHL, and that was obviously a great experience as well.
Yeah, I mean, 6th overall to Muskegon. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. And you go right into the USHL and you lead your team in points, 40 points in 52 games in a league that's hard to score. And I actually never got a point in that league. I played like 14 games, 2 different teams, could never get a secondary assist even. But you lead your team in points and you add 154 PIMs for 5th in the league. I dug that up. But just talk about going into the USHL, like switching from cage to visor, obviously, and just being like a young cat, racking up PIMs, racking up points in a league that's elite, top tier.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like thinking back on it, it was like, I don't know why it wasn't. It was never a big deal in Canada. It was so under the radar. Like even then, like I remember sitting, like it was like during lunchtime, or maybe I got excused from one of my classes, but this is like while the draft was going on, and obviously talking to my family advisor, like leading up to it, we knew I would be going on pretty early, and it was kind of a matter of like picking the right situation again. And I remember it happened, and I was like super excited, and everyone was like kind of excited for me, but like didn't really think about like, because it's not the OHL there. But now it's, at least getting the recognition I think it deserves, because it is an amazing league.
Yeah.
And I actually had to wear a cage my first year because I think I was 16, 15, turned 16. So it would be like when you fight, you undo your cage, take the bucket off, throw it down, and it was like,
And it,
oh, it was amazing. I love my time in the USHL. Like you said, it was a big jump for sure from what I was used to. I'm playing against, prep school kids and, midget guys and going to these, we had a guy on our team, Carter Foguth. I'll never forget this, like so intimidating. Mohawk, big mutant. They like would just throw it out with the biggest guys around. Like, so it was a step up, and it was cool. We had some tough dudes on my team that obviously helped me kind of make the transition. Being a younger physical guy, kind of being exposed to all these this big physical game, big physical tough dudes. So I obviously had a lot of help, and then again, kind of just jumping into the water face first and dealing with that. I remember my first ever fight. It was in like preseason, and I ran the goalie. So I'm like, I got to do something. We were down like 4-0 or whatever. Run the goalie, just be an idiot kid. And going into the third, so intermission, going to the third period, two of their fighters come up with the red line. They're like, you're going one of us. Which one are you going? And like one guy's huge and one guy's like kind of small around my size. Well, I'll take the smaller guy, obviously. It's like, all right. Watching the time click down on the scoreboard, 3, 2, look over it. What do you know? A guy's jumping out, perfect timing, comes, waits for me, like right in front of the box. I jump out. I just grabbed onto him that time because I had no idea what I was doing. And that was the first tilt in the USHL. It was pretty epic. I remember it to a T. But yeah, that year in itself, we didn't have the greatest team. We had a lot of change, coach change halfway through the year. Guys were kind of in and out. So I as a young player, I got a lot of playing time and opportunity, which obviously helped towards my numbers. But yeah, looking back, that league was probably one of the best things that's happened to me, because I developed so much. You're playing against everybody you're playing against. You're going to play against in college, because every single one of them's committed. Maybe not one or two, but that one or two will be committed in a year or two. So it's the USHL is great. I can't say enough good things about it.
And two things. Was it 5 minutes for fighting when you were there?
for sure.
Yeah, it was 5. Yeah, just 5 minutes for fighting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I know it switched a lot. When I went back, it was like 15 or something like that, and I think it's even higher than that now, which is
The whole period.
Yeah, it's insane. But I love to hear that when
the
you were
whole
there,
period.
it was
Yeah,
5
it's
minutes.
20
But
minutes.
talk about moving away from home for the first time, like billets, in in Muskegon.
Yeah, so yeah, I got very lucky with the people I got matched with. Again, like I was a kid. I was 15, turning 16 when I was going out there. So I was young. Obviously my first time leaving home. So my family had to be comfortable with the people I was moving in with, and we got matched with the perfect family, the Taylors. Still talk to them to this day. Every once in a while, there's 2 kids, a son and a daughter, and every once in a while, one of them will come out to Florida, for a quick visit. And like I said, still talk to them to this day. So it was, I got incredibly lucky with them. Obviously, you hear the horror stories every once in a while with billets, and you hear certain things are going on with certain teammates and their living situations and stuff like that. But for me, I couldn't have gotten luckier with the people I got matched with. So they made it very easy for me and very comfortable. Obviously, leaving at 15, there's a whole bunch of things that you're scared about, nervous about, and they helped me a ton, kind of being comfortable and supporting me and making me feel like I was as close to home as possible.
Mm-hmm. Did you go to high school in Muskegon?
I did online that year. So I did online. So it was amazing. The rink was like 10 minutes away. I was kind of with the older guys because the guys my age would go to school there, but I did it so I can so I would wake up, go to the rink with the boys, the older guys in the morning. We'd either work out or go on the ice and just kind of shoot around. And then, we'd go home, have lunch, come back for practice when the kids finished up. The guys in the team that went to school. And I'd practice. And then, we'd either work out again or do something at the rink and then head home. There wasn't too much time for schoolwork going on, even though I had all day. And it didn't make too much time for it. It was usually like the cram and the week everything's due. You're kind of scrambling to get everything finished. But no, lucky for me, I rolled with the older guys. I was able to hang around the rink a bunch.
Yeah,
It's crazy, Lombo. It's actually crazy because you probably had friends that were in the OHL, and you guys are on FaceTime at night. They're running you through their day. You run them through your day. You're like, boys, this is the same league. Like, what are you guys doing? This is the same thing. This is the same thing, except you can go to college.
The only difference is I got my college eligibility.
Yeah. It's crazy.
The only
man.
difference is I got my eligibility.
It's exactly what I realized. Like, I played in the USHL, then I went to the Q, and I was like, oh my God, it's literally the same thing, except you have your eligibility with one and you don't with another. So after that season in the USHL, one and done, you hit up University of Maine. You spoke on it a little bit, but as a freshman playing 32 games, putting up 7 goals, 7 assists, like, it's a big deal, man. Again, I don't know if a lot of people in Ontario value the NCAA. I think they do, though. I think NCAA has always been on the map. But to go in as a freshman, playing every game alone is a big deal. But, to put up 7 goals, 7 assists, 14 points, that's a nice season for you. So just talk about the transition going into NCAA. Obviously, you got a full tank of confidence after lighting out the U show.
Tough to score in Hockey East.
Yeah, it is. It was, it was great. That's actually, kind of one of the reasons I chose Maine. Is just timing purposes. They had just kind of lost a pretty, forward heavy class of seniors. So I knew that there would be some immediate opportunity kind of at the top of the order, where they would, look for some new guys that they're bringing in, kind of top prospect type guys that can, fill that void in a couple of years. So it was that part was pretty strategic. That was one of the more important things that we kind of weighed when we were making the decision was, how do these rosters look right now, and how are they going to look when I get there? Because I remember at BC, and obviously top program and has been and will be, because they always attract the top guys. But that was kind of something that was kind of the opposite side, where if I go there, I don't know where I fit into the lineup or when I fit into the lineup. So that was definitely one of the things that helped me, playing every game and getting that opportunity.
That's a classic smart guy move of not following the hype and doing what's best for your career.
Yeah, exactly. It was tough, not choosing schools like that where you would be on the big stage and obviously hope to be a big part of it, but there's a chance that you're not. Exactly. That was kind of strategic, and the fact that I knew I'd get that opportunity.
That's great guidance for sure.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't really, and that was all my dad. Shout out to him. I would love a school. I would be like, I can really see myself here, and then you go through the lineup, you'd be like, all these guys are sophomores, so they're all going to be juniors or seniors, and they're the top guys now. What are they going to be in 2 years? They're not taking their spots. So
yeah, he's doing his due diligence. He was doing his homework, literally.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I know he always. We would go on to these visits like, dialed in, knowing pretty much everything about the school, the attendance, what how many kids are enrolled, all that stuff. So it was it was a very cool experience looking back on it.
The following year, sophomore year, 34 games, 11 goals, 7 assists, 18 points. And then you go back to the USHL, Youngstown. You're the captain. You played with Kyle Connor there. You lit it up. You put up 43 points in 46 games, 24 goals, 19 assists. Now, that year in Youngstown, after that year, I saw that you were actually committed to go back to college to the Miami of Ohio, or you were in talks with them, going to go there. And then you got an AHL one-way with the Calgary Flames organization. So talk a little bit about going back to the USHL. Obviously, now you have 2 years of college under your belt, so you're way more experienced. You're probably like, let's go. I'm going to rip this up. And you do. And now you're looking at pro options, which maybe you didn't know you'd have? Maybe you kind of had that in your mind, like I'm going back to a different school.
Yeah, that was a crazy couple of years for sure, year and a half, whatever it was. I remember that year in Youngstown. If you exclude this last year and winning the cup, that was my most fun playing for sure. The group of guys, the coaching staff, our team was a wagon. We all we would do was win and have fun, and the coach was amazing, Anthony Noreen. He's actually in Miami of Ohio now. I believe I saw, but he's like a legendary USHL guy, coach, GM. So the Youngstown was phenomenal. I played with Kyle Connor was my line mate kind of all year, and I got in 3 fights. I think 2 or 3 fights. I can't even remember how many it was, but they were the only times he got hit all year long, and it was like, it's crazy because that's when they changed the fighting rule. So now I'm like, I'm gonna be in the box for 15 minutes of my fight. Like I'm gonna miss on a whole period playing with this guy. Like it's so much fun. I'm not missing that. So it's the rule. If he gets hit, my hands are tied. I got to go get him. But if he doesn't get hit, I'm not fighting because it's not worth it at that point. So that year was amazing. That year was so much fun. I actually got on Calgary's radar because of Kyle Connor. They came to watch Kyle Connor, and I guess they liked my game. So then they reached out to my agent, and that's kind of how that was initiated, which is cool looking back on it. And then, so I went to their development camp in the summer. Thought I had a really good camp, killed the testing, played well in the scrimmages and all that stuff. And I was committed to Miami of Ohio at that point. I was planning on going back to school. Miami of Ohio at the time, flipping back now to why I chose Maine, they were kind of in the opposite position. They were ready to win. They had some big guys. But I had a year of college under my belt already, or 2 years, excuse me, and a big year in the USHL. So I knew I could have stepped into one of those teams. And that was kind of another cool situation because I had a good year. So now I had, another list of teams that kind of were interested that weren't before. And, the North Dakotas, the Miami of Ohio's, the, teams like that. So it was cool to go and see those teams. And I remember there were some Hockey East teams that came to me, and who was it? It was UMass. I think it was UMass, and their pitch was my favorite. They're like, we play Maine 6 times or whatever it was. So you could, if you want to come here and play them the most, you could do that. And I was like, I'll never forget it because that was the team that was always in it because the coach said that, and he knew that would resonate with me. So that was pretty cool picking all those schools. But so I was committed to Miami, Ohio. I was pretty much set on going. I had spent all summer there training, hanging out with the guys. It was unbelievable, amazing guys up there. The facilities were top notch. It was super cool. And then I went to this development camp, did well, and my agent in Calgary kind of had some talks about like, well, he had a great camp. Was he interested in going pro? And my agent's like, yeah, we would entertain it if you're interested in signing him. I don't think he thought that was an option. I thought he was just going for exposure. And at that time, I kind of Zemgus Gurgensen did it the year before. He went from the USHL straight to the American League, and he had a great year in the American League. And I think at that point he finished in the NHL or. But I kind of saw the pathway there. So I was like, you know what? I did this school thing. Maybe it's time for this next chapter. I think I'm ready. I felt great at development camp. So then I decided to sign pro and start my professional career.
That's really cool. Sick story. You just go there, open mind, work your nuts off, earn a contract. How did your rights get switched from Muskegon to Youngstown? Because they're like rivals, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So when I left Maine, I got in like a little bit of trouble. So when I got back, I had gone. They didn't want me, and they essentially were. I think my rights got traded for like a 15th round phase 8 or whatever it was, like draft pick. So it was like.
I was couldn't
give me away for there, there you go. Maybe it was for you, 1 for 1. So it was like it's just not like I went back and I was like, I can't wait to live with this family again. I love Muskegon, and then hearing like, well, you're not going to play there. It's going to be somewhere else. So I was kind of bummed about that until Youngstown reached out to me, and the coach, like I was saying, Anthony and Noreen reached out to me. They traded for me. I had some teammates on Maine the previous year, Cam Brown and Dan Renouf, who had played for Noreen before they went to Maine in Youngstown. He's like, hey, talk to your teammates. We would love to have you. We just traded for you. We'll see you in a couple weeks type thing. And I was like, Youngstown it is. Let's fucking go. These guys want me. Like you said, kind of rivals. So I'm like, now I'm all fired up. And they were a wagon. They had a great team. Kyle Connor was like a superstar the year before in that league. And then that was it. Everything works out for a reason. And something like that. You think at the time it was. I remember being so down about it. And, looking back, things worked out so well.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works. Hey, it's funny how that works sometimes. Crazy. Sometimes like the things that we're most pissed about end up being good for us. But that first year pro, so you're on an AHL one way, you go to NHL camp, you get sent down, you go to AHL camp, and we talked about this a little bit there the other day, and you didn't think you could get sent down, and there you go. You're in the ECHL, you're playing for the Adirondack Thunder. And real quick, I saw that your assistant coach was Alex Lowe in Adirondack. So he was actually my assistant coach in Savannah. So I had him for a cup of coffee. And so I texted him. I was like, Alex, hope all is well. Like, if you have anything about Ryan Lomberg, he's coming on the pod tomorrow, anything you can remember about his rookie season in Adirondack. And he goes, the biggest thing I remember about Lombo was his enthusiasm. He didn't give a shit he was in the ECHL. He just loved coming to the rink and working his ass off. It was awesome to see. Not surprised to see him make it to the show and win a cup. So that's from Alex Lowe, who was with you your rookie year in Adirondack in the ECHL. He's not surprised to see you in the show win a cup. That's pretty fucking awesome, bro.
Yeah, I got chills, man. That's cool because that, it was like you said, it was tough. That was kind of my first lesson in like the numbers game, right? Like you're a kid, you think you have a chance, but in reality, you're just a fucking number. And whether you light it up and do whatever, there was just really no plan for you to fit in. So unless you fucking make one and you make it known, which is inevitably what I believe I did. But at that initial point, I really wasn't. I didn't know how to go about it. I was, a kid at that point, just signed his first pro deal. And like you said, went to the NHL camp, first time around these big guys. It's cool. And again, feel like I'm fitting in, not dangling anybody, but not getting dangled, hanging in there, scoring a few goals in practice and making some good plays and stuff like that. Again, did well in the testing. So I know physically I can be there with the guys. And then you kind of know what's going to happen. You get cut from camp and sent down to the American League camp, and this is the place I think I'm going to be this year, and the area. So you're looking at places to live and all this stuff, and you're looking at thinking about who you're going to play with all year, and seeing how that's all going to fit out or fit together, and then get called in a coach's office, and you're cut. We're sending you down to the East Coast, and at that time, I remember calling my agent because I didn't really like, this is like, now I think this is like bad. Like, I'm supposed to be in the American League. Now I'm in another league below. Like, how am I supposed to ever get to the NHL? Like, there's a million things running through my head. And he was like, pretty much like, well, it is what it is. It's a shitty position, but what do you want me to do? You want me to call him and tell him not to send you down? Like, how does that look? So I've never really been the guy to, make a fuss about anything. I usually like to look internally first, right? And like if I'm getting scratched, if I'm not playing a lot, like obviously the coach doesn't believe in me that I can help the team win. So how do I show him that I can help the team win? So that was kind of my thing moving forward is I'm just gonna every day I'm going to try and get better. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm not going to complain because that's not what I do. I'm going to be a good teammate. And like, I have so many good fucking teammates throughout my days, like so many. But like in the East Coast, I can see the love of the game. Like people play hockey not because it's a job, because they love it. Like they fucking it's just about, all it is about love for the game. You love for the game. You go drink some beers with your buddies after. You show up, you know, you sweat it out, and then game day the next day, and it's you know, and the travel's a grind. It's like you're getting beat down, but it's just for the love of the game. You have so much fun playing. So I really, it wasn't hard for me to enjoy that year at all. You would obviously watch what's going on in the American League. Some guy gets hurt. Called up. I got called up a few times, but it was until that guy got healthy. You know, I think it was like 45, 15 East Coast games, so American League games that year or something like that. So my home that year was in Adirondack for sure. That's the place I felt like was home for me. And it was you know, another kind of unexpected thing that turned into this amazing thing.
Yeah, it's crazy you say that about the coast, because we just had Shane Harper on. He played a little bit for the Florida Panthers back in the day, and he was a career AHLer and like finished his career in the ECHL in Adirondack. He said the same thing. It's like almost like when you're in the ECHL, it's like not as much pressure as the American League. I don't know yet, haven't been there yet, but you know, it's something about like the guys in the coast, you know, they love they love hockey because you're getting paid nothing, but it's also like they love the boys. Like you're all kind of in it together, and like you really feel for guys when they get released. Like those are your brothers. But like, yeah, I feel like in the American League and in the NHL, as it should be, it's more like a little cutthroat. Like, oh, he got released. Like, good, a little more room for me. Type of thing.
What it is, yeah. The American League, like. Yeah, the NHL, the pressure is insane for sure. It's intense. There's so much pressure, but like in the American League, it's a lot of guys, you know, think they can be there, or think they're better than the guy that got called up, or think, you know, because they've all been top prospects their whole lives. They've all been the guy. So when they're not getting the opportunity as much, they're not like looking internally, they're looking external. They're like, oh, why is this guy, or why is the coach not like me? Why is the coach not playing me enough? Why is the GM not calling me up? Instead of like going to work and making sure you're that next guy up, or doing things you have to do to put yourself in a better position. And yeah, that's something that I saw kind of when I was out of the lineup my first year. Is like I'm looking at guys that are on top two lines and, you know, on one of the power plays, and they're complaining about ice time and stuff. And here I'm thinking, like, you give me 6 minutes, I can guarantee I'll get. Like, what do you mean? You're like, you're out there for half the game, bro. Like, what else do you want? And so so that was like humbling for me, because I'm like, just give me a taste and I'll make more of it. So, and you kind of like, it's kind of like, you know, human nature, natural for them to kind of go that route. They've always been that player. They expect it out of them, and when they're put in that position, they can score and they can be successful. But it's like, how do you do? There's 10 of those guys now on the American League teams, and, you know, line to grinder. So all these guys are top level guys. They've been their whole lives. They don't really know how to work out of it. Because they just haven't done it before. So it's tough. Like it's not easy. And especially, like, you know, now those guys are starting to make a little bit of money too, and you know, they're on their own, they're living alone. So there's a lot of distractions, and it's a tough situation. It's tough to kind of find your way through it and come out on top.
It's crazy being in the locker room. Hey, like you see a guy that's on the second power play, he's complaining that he thinks he should be on the first. Or my favorite one is a guy on the power play that doesn't like his position. Like he'd rather be in a different spot on the power play. I'm just like foaming out the mouth, like, give me that spot. Give me that spot.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
But
or like, it's like, you know, the guy that doesn't want to screen when he's the net front guy or whatever it is. You can hit me with it, and I'll just put it in after it hits me. Or, like,
yeah,
You gotta know what you sign up for when you go to the front of the net. Like,
yeah. Luckily in Florida, we didn't really have to worry about that too much. We had Chucky doing it, so
yeah, a bunch of dogs
Chucky
there.
and I know.
Well, we're getting there. We're getting there. So the next year you're back, but full-time AHLer. You play 68 games in the American League, 13 goals, 16 assists, 29 points, and you get your first NHL deal, a 2-year entry level. Just walk us through, like, the year before you were basically in Adirondack and Glens Falls the whole season, and then the next year you have a solid year in the American League, and now you're signing a 2-year entry-level deal. As a guy who likes to look internally, I'm sure you like to reflect sometimes, and I'm sure at that time that reflection was like, holy shit, man, what a ride this has been, even though we're just getting started.
Yeah, crazy, man. Like, getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's that was a crazy couple of years. It's like, there's moments where you feel so close, and then there's other ones where you feel so far, and like the reality is it's probably neither. So for me, I remember going into my second pro year, like, and so I had signed, I had a good East Coast year. We played in the playoffs, good, like, decent playoffs. Fought Trevor Gillies, like, in the playoffs. Like, this guy's like an all-time fucking mutant. Like,
I just met this guy. Me and Z just met him at the PHPA meetings. He's a dog.
Dude,
He's huge.
And he's a lefty, and he'd have the handlebars back in the day, like, fighting the biggest, baddest guys, and like, so I'm like going into this summer, like, okay, like, I'm in a pretty good spot now. Like, I'm gonna, at least if I don't get an NHL deal, I'll get like a good AHL deal, blah blah blah. And it just didn't go that way. I didn't end up signing an NHL deal that summer. Obviously, I ended up signing an AHL deal for less money with them again. And at this point, I'm like, holy fuck, like, what's going on? What's gonna take? And so I went psycho mode that summer, and that what is it called? The rookie tournament was out in Penticton, and I just made a fucking mess. I was like fighting everybody. I was calling everybody out. I scored a couple goals, like, and these are now like the top prospects in each organization, right? Like, top prospects, biggest players. And I was like, I'd wait till it was dead silent in the arena, and I would just start beaking the biggest player on the other team, calling him a pussy, saying, you won't fight me. Like, and everyone, like, and you can see the scouts, like, looking at him and looking at me, and like, so that's like, I really believe that was kind of the whole turning point, because now in these scouts and management's eyes, and I played well offensively that tournament as well. So now in their eyes, they're like, holy, who the hell is this kid? Like, he can play with these top guys. And then yeah, I played every game in the American League that year, and that was kind of my goal going into the year. Was I want to play, and I don't want to come out and be a scratch. Forget about getting sent down. I'm not coming out of the lineup. So it was cool for me to be able to do that. And then yeah, I got the call. I don't even remember the exact date, or I know it was towards the end of the season. That they were offering me an NHL deal, and that was kind of, that was obviously pretty cool for me, being able to, because that's really now you get the opportunity to play for an opportunity. When you're on an AHL deal, there's really not going to happen. You're not going to play in the NHL that year just because you can't. You need to sign an NHL deal to play in the NHL.
Yeah.
So now I'm starting to see that it's a possibility.
So, man, it's crazy. Like, I'm gonna stop you real quick because man, you got to look up Zach's elite prospects after. I don't want to pump his tires, but this guy must be getting so much juice right now just from hearing you talk, because I feel like he's in such a similar situation, man. Got an AHL deal out of college, lit up the ECHL, a little bit in the AHL. His goal was to be full-time AHL, did it last year, got a lesser contract, did better. He's on another AHL deal this year, but it's crazy because he's a smaller guy like you. He's mixing it up now. and all this stuff. So I'm like, holy shit, Z, you taking notes right now, Z?
All I can say
Yeah,
is I'm taking a page out of the book. I might be taking multiple chapters out of the book.
Yeah, you have to, bro.
and I'll give you this too, because what it's all about in that position is like realistically not even playing to get an NHL contract with a team that's affiliated with your team. It's like every other fucking team.
Yes.
Because they're all watching, and maybe on your team they already have guys slated like, oh, we have this guy, can he overtake him, blah blah blah. So the opportunity is really with the 31 other teams in the league being like, oh wow, we can see this guy in an NHL deal for our team.
Yeah, like you gotta play so well against them that they're like, we need this guy on our side.
Yes.
And it's great because every game is a trial. Every game you have an opportunity for the scouts to leave and be like, who the fuck's this guy in an American League deal? Like, why don't we sign with an NHL deal?
Yeah, that's great advice, Lombo.
Supply and demand.
Great advice, Lombo. So
That's
year,
reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're damn right. And this Z, how tall are you?
5'9".
Yeah, set. Easy money right there.
Yeah, same here, bud.
So you're
I don't
big.
got the hair like you though.
Oh, fuck. All right.
I might grow it out. Fuck.
But so that year,
Yeah.
after you get your 2-year entry level deal, you play 57. Or actually, this is a good question. Did you start in the American League, or so you go to camp on an entry level deal? Did you make the team at a camp, or did those 7 games come later?
No, they came later.
Okay, so you go to camp, you go to the AHL, you 57 AHL games, 13 goals, 15 assists, 28 points, and you played 7 NHL games with Calgary. So just walk us through that first NHL call up. Your NHL debut, you had a fight off the draw with Zach Cassian. And people say that the refs came in early, but I say you got that TKO early, and then the refs came in. You know what I mean? Like, it was too late for him. He's trying to get back up. It's like, whoa, buddy, fight's over.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it was crazy. It was like, the coolest thing ever. Shout out to Castor. He was like the coolest dude about it. So Battle of Alberta, right? It was my first game, Calgary, Edmonton, and we would play them in the preseason. And trying to make the team, I'd always be asking him to fight in preseason, always, like right out of my mouth, like trying to fight the biggest, baddest guys, trying to make an impression. And he would never fight me, and he would always tell me, he's like, if you make the team, I'll fight you. You don't have to worry about that, but I'm not fighting you in preseason. And I can only respect it. I'm not gonna, chase him down. It is what it is. He's established, and I'm looking for my chance. And so get called up. We're playing Edmonton in Edmonton, Battle of Alberta. Big Cassian's over there on the other side. It's like the coolest thing ever. That the buildup was crazy because I knew, if the opportunity presented itself, if the game went the way I hoped it would, I would get an opportunity to fight him. And remember in warmups, kind of skate by the red line initially, just kind of getting a feel for it, to seeing if I have to say something or whatever. And he's got no bucket on, his big bald head, it's glaring around. He skates by the red line, biggest smile on his face, and just gives you the biggest wink. And like at that moment, I knew, I'm like, okay, he remembers, it's gonna happen at some point. And then I think I think we were up 1. I think it was like 2-1 going into intermission or whatever. Or no, I think it was 1-1, and we had just scored. So the position, I'm like, okay, I don't know if I can fight him now because we have the momentum, we're winning the game. Like, I don't want to lose a fight, then we lose a game, and now I'm like never getting a chance again. So like, you kind of got to like play the game within the game. Like Blatch, I'm sure like there's an opportunity to fight, and there's opportunities where you shouldn't fight. So things weren't looking good, and then they scored, and now we needed a spark, and I'm like, fucking perfect. So I just skate by their bench. I'm like, it's time, big boy. He jumps out, we line up, and he goes, we square it up or we go right away? I'm like, I'm not fucking squaring up with you right now. We're going right away. Drop him, we go right away, grab each other. I know he's a lefty, so he's gonna let go. Let's go my right arm before he throws one. I threw one, and big boy went down. He jumped back up pretty quick. I don't know. I tell people all the time, I'm like, I would have been in the league fucking 2 years earlier if there was good footage of this fucking fight. But it's just for some reason for some reason the camera's cut. I don't know if Cass had his cousins working the cameras or something that night, or they're in the video room, or what happened. But yeah, so that was my first NHL game, and it's funny because Chucky was there, right? Chucky's there, and he knows, he saw it, and he always laughs when I see I would have been in the league earlier, because he knows it. He knows how things like that go. You know, you get a little bit of energy and buzz around you, and then kind of momentum takes you a little bit further. But unfortunately, I missed that opportunity. But I wouldn't have. You know, I don't regret a thing.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. You're absolutely right, man. If they had good footage of that, that is how it works, man. Like, especially your side,
It's my first game, Battle of Alberta. Like, this is when, like, you know, Cassian, he wouldn't like really bully them, but you know, it just wasn't the same. Like, that was the year before Luch got there, so they didn't really have an answer. Like, you know, Chucky would be running around killing people, and that he'd go after him, and there's just. So yeah, the opportunity was there. I just, unfortunately, for whatever reason, the hockey god said not yet.
Well, that's how it goes sometimes. But man, I mean, you got a sack on you, brother. But then the following year, you're in the AHL. You're assistant captain, 58 games, 12 goals, 17 assists, 29 points. You played 4 NHL games, and then I'm wondering, like, because your 2-year deal's up now, right? So I'm wondering what kind of deal you got for the next year. You had 20 points in 21 games, almost a point per game player in the American League. And also what happened that cut your season short there?
Yeah, so it was going back to that first year there. Yeah, I had a great year. Didn't, like, you know, just the way it goes, they were fairly healthy. Didn't really get a lot of opportunity to get called up that year. When I did, it was, you know, kind of in one game, out 3 type thing. So I had a great year. We had a good run that year, and then going into that summer, I was an RFA, so really no real options. We were actually debating, you know, going to Russia at that point, and kind of burning a couple of years until I got to the free agent age. But that was like very, like, preliminary. The deal we ended up taking wasn't wasn't the best deal. You know, at the time, I probably could have gotten more for what happened, but that's how it goes when you're an RFA. You don't really have a lot of pull. You know, I think we had arb rights, and you know, it was just we didn't have a strong case, so kind of had to look for other leverage somewhere else. So we started to explore other options, and you know, ultimately re-signed with Calgary, hoping for you know, some opportunity. The AHL money was, I think it was 100 or 110. So it was like the first time it was 6 figures, which was, you know, a big deal. You know, especially, you know, coming from, you know, the days where you're strictly on an American League deal. Now you're making this, and potentially can make a lot more too. So and then going into that next year, yeah, I had a great year in the American League. Just about a point a game, and then I got hurt. So I actually had a high ankle sprain. Came back. I rehabbed it for it feels like a couple months. It might have been a month and a half, kind of in that range. We rehabbed it. It was feeling good. Played a game, got a goal in that game. So I'm like, fucking rights, we're back, feeling good, gonna buzz again. And at this point too, it's like, you know, forget about getting called up to Calgary. Like, I want to have a good year so I can go play for another NHL team and get an opportunity somewhere else, because clearly they're not giving me opportunities. So I'm going to have to do what I can to get myself somewhere else. So I was having a great year. I got, you know, some good opportunity, and was capitalizing on it. And then came back for a game, and then next practice, I, you know, kind of tangled skates with one of my teammates, and completely, you know, mangled my ankle. To the point where I needed season-ending surgery. Ended up going to some surgeon out in LA who was, you know, this top-notch guy, and we elected to do the kind of slow recovery just so we can get it back to 100. And at that point it was we knew my season was most likely over, so we you know, it took me close to just over 8 months to fully rehab it. So it was a pretty long road, but you know, and I was worried. I wanted to get back because I wanted to earn an NHL contract. So this whole time I'm sitting there worried about it, and my agent says, no, don't worry, like you know, you've got a pretty good body of work this year. Like if it's not a one way, it'll be a two-way and a high two-way at that. So you know, that kind of made it a little bit easier, but obviously, you know, wanted to be able to ensure I would get this opportunity. Now I gotta watch, you know, 2/3 of the year go by. So that was tough, but yeah, ultimately put myself in a good enough position to get that one-way contract and get a true, you know, opportunity at being an NHL player.
Yeah, your agent was right, man. You did do enough. You get that NHL deal with the Florida Panthers. And you know, your first year, 34 games, 2 goals, 2 assists. Talk about, I mean, your first year, like you're an NHL player. Obviously, it gets cut down short because of COVID. You're probably like, "Fuck me, I was just getting going here." But talk about like
Well, that was
first...
so I joined like the year after the shutdown when
Oh,
there were no fans in the buildings.
okay, so no fans in the building. So you played 34 games that year. You had 2 goals, 2 assists. Talk about getting your first couple points. Like
Yeah.
your first goal was pretty sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a trip, man. I remember, like, you know, because guys that, like, you know, you don't, when you're kind of a guy that hasn't played a lot or doesn't have a lot of experience in NHL, like, guys don't know if you scored before, if you got an assist, if you played a game or not. Like that, there's always a couple guys when they get called up and you know they've been at the organizations where you don't know if you're going to be like, hey, is it your first game? Because you don't like want to be rude and do that. So when I scored my first goal, like nobody really knew it was my first goal until like after the game. So I was all like jacked up about it. I'm like, what? Why the fuck aren't the boys so happy for me? And then like after the game, Horty comes in, he throws it the puck. He's like, what the fuck? I didn't know it was your first goal. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, Patty. Appreciate it, buddy.
That's awesome. Well, that's actually kind of good because they thought that you already had one because they
Yeah,
thought you
apparently
were that good. Yeah.
they acted like I got 40 of them. That's how they were acting. No,
I
it
didn't
was
give a shit.
Walk us through the play.
Yeah, it was I think it was like a 3-on-2 or 2-on-2, but I kicked it out to Noah Chari and he threw it on net and I batted that thing out of the air. I don't know. If you give me 100 tries, I might not be able to do that again. Just how perfect timing it was. It was so fast. Things happen so fast. But yeah, I got my stick on it and batted it right in. It was it was a pretty cool first goal for sure.
Yeah, I just watched it. You guys are kind of like at the end of the shift, kind of hemmed in the D zone, like block shot, breakout, like 2-on-1, 2-on-2 kind of. And like Noah Chari's gassed. He just like tips it on net, like on the ice, and the goalie tips it off his pad, like up in the air, kind of wide, and you just long arm fucking thought you would have been a baseball player.
Yeah.
You batted in a sick.
Yeah, I don't. You're right. It was my hands were like close together, so it was like I had to reach for it too.
Yeah.
End of the shift. Yeah, now I remember we were bagged for sure. Yeah, we got hemmed, and that's like, you know, now the fourth line's getting hemmed. What a TSN turning point that was for that shift, because the fourth line gets hemmed. You know, when do you get another shift if the fourth line's hemming the other fourth line in? So score there was what a cool moment for sure.
Maybe they thought you had 40 because you're Selly. You just went like fucking rights. You weren't like hands up or like over the top. Go away.
I know, it's crazy. It's funny if you watch that video of sound, you can hear me yelling like right away because it's the empty building, so there's no fans. You can just hear my.
Let me see if I can.
So then the following year, I mean, you little bit of a breakout year here.
Now Jones shot blocked.
Oh, here.
Vetus ahead for Lomberg. He carries in centering feed. He's got a Chari in front. 6-8 rebounds.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't. I wanted to hear him. All right. Anyway, so the following year, 55 games and like, bro, 9 goals, 9 assists, 18 points. How you doing, National Hockey League? My name is Ryan Lomberg. Kind of feels like your year, like where you really broke into the league. Like, How you feeling after that season? Also, forgot to mention, every season you've been with the Panthers, you get a NHL playoff run. So you're just gaining experience every season, like postseason experience and gaining more of a role, playing more games, getting more points now. You're kind of feeling good. You're living in Florida. Like, what's up?
Yeah, that was a great year. So that's the year we won the President's Cup, and that year we had a great team. My line mates that year were Lucerainen and Hornquist. So like that's Achari would be there every once in a while too. He was a little bit banged up that year, but like unbelievable line mates. And our team was rolling. So yeah, there were a lot of good things that happened that year. It's obviously that's one of the things I'm most proud of is I'm part of that with Billy Z, one of the original groups or part of the original group that kind of brought this whole new winning atmosphere to Florida. So to be a part of that, yeah, that was a good year. President's Cup, and then obviously lost second round in the playoffs there, but unbelievable experience. That year was amazing. So thankful for my line mates.
And then the next year, I mean, you go all the way, come up short. But that season, you had 20 points, your first 20-point season in the NHL, 12 goals, 8 assists.
All 82 games.
All 82 games. That's right. That's a hell of an accomplishment. And you guys go on a hell of a playoff run all the way to the end. And I mean, just talk about that season, that experience of playing every single game, really being a part of it, feeling a part of it, being a part of it, and then going so far into playoffs and falling short.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things I'm most proud of for sure is playing all 82, especially the last, where I came from the last couple of years, having a few good games and having one bad one and still coming out. So that that was really the year where I made myself and imprinted that I'm an everyday NHL player. And when you can have a few good games and have a bad game and the coach trusts that you're going to bounce back and help the team win the next night, it's an incredible feeling. And I'm super thankful to have Paul Maurice or to have had him as a coach, because he helped me tremendously. He we would talk at the start of every year and he would say how he knows where I came from and how he knows how I'm desperate and scared to come out of the lineup if I have a bad game. And he kind of gave me the freedom to not really worry about that. He said, listen, you're an everyday NHL player. I've watched the film. I know what you bring to the team. It's your spot to lose. So you have it. Don't worry too much about coming out, going back in. It doesn't matter. You're going to be in there. I'm going to keep you in there. And so that was amazing to have that confidence from my coach. Kind of never had that before, especially not at that level. So that relationship was something I'm definitely tremendously thankful for. And again, to play all 82 games, you really feel a part of it, right? You're a part of every win, every loss. You have your hands all over everything. So to go all the way in the playoffs and come up short, it was tough. It was tough for sure because of everything we had all put into that year.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And shout out Eric Stahl too. I was playing with a legend all year too, so maybe that's why I had a good year.
Yeah, true, man. That is a legend. And that season, what sticks out to me, obviously 20-point season, but December 23rd, 2023 against the Vegas Golden Knights. Merry Christmas, Colasar. I'm gonna grab you. I'm gonna feed you a quick right, and you're donezo. TKO. How you doing? This guy's like 6'6" or 6'7", maybe 6'8". I don't know. Let's put him at 7 feet tall. You're 5'9", dude. You're a dog, baby. Just walk us through that though. Like that's a big fella.
Yeah, he's big and he's tough for sure. So it's obviously not easy to go into something like that. That was kind of a little bit of settling last year's score. He was the one who hit Kachuk and ultimately took him out of the rest of the round. So we kind of chatted a little bit, started that game, and he asked me like, well, it's a new year. Like that happened last year. Why didn't you do something last year? And I told him like I was in a cast. My thumb was broken all playoff long. Like I couldn't fight. And he was like, oh, like, all right, I'll fight you then. And then whatever happened, and obviously Chucky comes over right after, and that was a big win for our team this year. We were on a bit of a down slope, and I think we went on like a 9-game heater or something like that, 9-1 in the next 10 games or something like that, and that kind of really put us in a position where we started playing some really good hockey and some hard, meaningful, games. So it was obviously pretty cool experience.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And yeah, that's my mistake. That was this year. And before we get into this season real quick, I just wanted to take you back and ask your first full season in the American League. You played with Garnett Hathaway, Brandon Bolig, and Jamie Devane. And I'm wondering, those are 3 tough guys. Like, did you guys do any work together? Like, did you ask them for tips and stuff? Because in prepping for this podcast, I'm watching all your fights, and like, brother, you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, you're counter punching Maroon. You got a good grab control. You're coming in. You know which guys are lefties, so you're working that strategically. Like, you really know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's something that I always love being aggressive and fighting and stuff like that. So I was always drawn towards these guys. Growing up, watching, the tough guys, you watched Don Cherry. My favorite part was always the fighting and the big hitting and stuff like that. So once I turned pro, every tough guy I played with, I would ask to drop the gloves and for them to show me something, whether it's something they always do, something they don't want a small guy like me to do to them. Just picking up tips from every single one of them. So huge shout out to those guys. I've played with a lot of tough guys, especially in the American League, and every one of them showed me something that I carried with me to this day. Right to the first guy was Cole Knorr in my Stockton days. And he was, a Toronto legend growing up where I grew up, and like he was my stallmate, and he's such a badass, cool dude. And I remember dropping the gloves with him in practice and asking him, to show me some things. So yeah, I'm always trying to learn and do different things. And when I first started fighting, although I asked to show me, there wasn't it's not too comparable because our fighting styles are a little bit different. He fights a different caliber type of fighter than I do, and all those things. But when I first started fighting, I was more like a straight defensive fighter. Like, you hold on and when you see an opportunity, punch. And other than that, it's a pretty boring fight. And then as you get more comfortable and you start to learn a little bit more and get punched in the face a couple times and realize, it doesn't hurt all that much, then you can start to kind of, try new things and stuff like that. And I still remember the first time I ever threw a left punch in a fight and stuff like that. So it's, definitely a lot of trial and error. Or I would, Jamie Devane specifically, actually, I remember I got in a fight. Jared Tenorti blew up. It was actually Rasmus Anderson, like the middle of the ice. I can't remember the hit exactly, but like it was like, elbow to the dome. It could have been clean. I don't know. But I remember looking around, and we had some tough guys on our team, like you said. None of them were on the ice. And I'm like looking around like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm going to have to. Like, I guess it's my number. I'll go. So I go over and I fight him, and we grab on, and like he punched me once, whatever. And I go to punch him, and I'm like this far from his face. So I realized, oh God, like this isn't going to work out very well. So I kind of just hold him out there as much as I can. Yeah. Like he's just punching my helmet. I couldn't sleep on the side of my head for like 2 weeks. Helmet's broken. Like it doesn't like click anymore. Like helmet's broken. And I get in the locker room and I'm like throwing my shit. And Devane was actually, I don't know if he was hurt or scratched that game, but coming out of the shower and he's all pissed off. He's like, what the fuck happened? I'm like, I just fucking fought Snorty. And you're like, right away, he's like, did he string you out? And I'm like, yeah, I couldn't fucking touch him. I couldn't get in there. And he's like, all right, like tomorrow, because I think it was a back-to-back. It's like, tomorrow I'll go out with you and I'll show you what to do when that happens. So he showed me what to do. And if it happens again, I'm gonna revert right back to what he said. And I would imagine it's gonna work because he's been in that situation multiple times where he's stringing guys out, and he told me what guys do against him and what works and what doesn't. So, it's kind of things like that where I would go out of my way or they would go out of their way, but just that respect to kind of acknowledge how tough and willing these guys are. They're just as willing to kind of help out a guy that's willing to do something like that for his teammates.
You're damn right, man. And Jamie Devane is one tough customer. Obviously, a lot of guys listening to this probably have no idea who he is because he's a AHL lifer. But guys,
I've never seen that guy lose a hockey fight once.
Yeah,
Never seen him lose a fight.
He's as tough as they come, man. I actually played with his little brother when I was in the GTHL for the Toronto Red Wings. His little brother wasn't a very good player, but he was a really big guy. And I remember him showing me, like, when I was in 10th grade, videos of his older brother, what he was doing. I was like, holy fuck, like, those are the kind of guys that are in pro hockey. Like, geez. I mean, there's really none like that anymore, to be honest. But he was a tough customer. So obviously this season, you had 75 games played, a bit of a drop off in production, 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points. But as a guy who lives in Florida, I'll have you know, you are the absolute fan favorite over here. Like, anyone in the whole team, everybody knows who Lomberghini is. I remember one of my best buddies down here, Daniel Ioanu, his little sister, I went over to his house. She's got a Lamborghini shirt on. It's like like a Lamborghini logo, but it's got your face on it, number 94. And brother, like, the impact that you've had on this community all around, has been incredible. But going into this season, you guys go into a playoff run now. I know a lot of people may know this, but you only played 8 games in the playoffs. You played April 21 versus Tampa, W, May 17 versus Boston, W, May 22 versus New York, W, May 24 versus New York, loss, May 26 versus New York, loss, 2 losses versus Edmonton, and then the big W that you were a part of. So I'm actually going to read this stuff that I printed out from the NHL website, and then I'm going to follow it up with questions. This is the first time I've ever done this on the pod, but you're a big guest, so
He's dialed.
here we go. The Florida Panthers forward had opened the Stanley Cup playoffs as a 4th-line fixture, but after playing against the Tampa Bay Lightning in Game 1 of the first round, Lomberg missed 9 games because of illness and the effectiveness of his replacements, forward Steven Lorentz and Kyle Okposo. It wasn't easy for a player that had traveled a long, hard, and convoluted road and has become a fixture with the Panthers. Ryan's been here a long time. He's a part of the fabric, Florida's coach Paul Maurice said, so it was possibly more personal for him. It was frustrating, Lomberg said, but the team always comes first. It was tough, especially this time of the year. It was tough to watch, Lomberg said. What made it easier is we were winning a lot of those games. Unfortunately, it's kind of been my MO, my career, to be in that lineup. So I dealt with it like I usually do, which is stay positive and work as hard as I can. That way, whenever the time comes that coach puts me back in, I'm ready to go. Fucking right. But also, I got some questions following that. So, 1, what was the illness that you got? And 2, how frustrated were you at that time? It's like, holy fuck, right now, I'm going to get an illness right now at this time. And then obviously, you've been in this business long enough. You were fully aware as soon as you take yourself out of the lineup with an illness, it's anyone's job for the taking. If someone goes in there and plays good, now you never know when you're back in, right?
Yeah, it was a whirlwind for sure. So I was out of the lineup like towards the end of the year. They started taking me out and putting Steve-O in, putting Oki in, trying to like just see some things because we had just gotten Oki too for the playoffs. Like, obviously they weren't happy with what I was doing and how the 4th line was looking. So they started looking elsewhere. So before playoffs started, things weren't looking like they're not the way you would want them to be personally at the end of the year going into playoffs. Yeah. So Paul gave me the opportunity, even though things weren't going that great, to play Game 1. He said, I owe this to you. You don't deserve it, but I owe it to you, and I know what you can do, and it's time you just fucking do it. So I did it. I had a great Game 1. I was ready to go. I'm like, almost back, playoff hockey. Let's run this shit back and let's go. So great fucking game. And I'm like, and now I'm feeling good because I'm like, this is like, I feel good. Like I all that shit's behind me. The year's behind me. We're starting at zeros. Everybody's starting at zeros. All offensive production and everything aside, like, new season, literally, like, time to go. And then it's so then my family gets sick, and they were kind of a little bit sick for game one, but no one was really that bad. And I was like, I'd sleep in the other room with my wife because we have young kids as well, so she was kind of up and down with the babies. That's kind of our thing the night before a game, especially in playoffs. And anyway, so I go to practice the next day, and I'm on my way home, and I call my wife, ask if she needs anything, and she's like, actually, like myself and the babies feel worse. I think you should go to a hotel. I just like I packed you a bag quickly, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is brutal. Like, but thank God I don't like that she's awesome for doing that. I don't have to stay around. I'm gonna go to a hotel, and so like go to a hotel right by our practice rink. It's right on the beach. It was a sweet setup. They're all struggling at home. I'm fine, and then I wake up in the middle of the night just like throwing up, like terrible. And now this is like game day. So I'm like, oh no, you got to be kidding me! Like this was like the flu times 10 for me. It was like it was like diarrhea, throwing up, like all day long, all just running back to the bathroom and back. And it was like, and I'm hanging on, and now I'm calling the trainers about it.
Wait. How long
like,
did you hold off? Like, did you hold off? Were you like, like when you woke up in the middle of the night, were you like, maybe I just got it all out of my system, like I can still play? Are those thoughts already in your head?
I didn't. Oh yeah. I didn't. And I was like, so I usually it's like a 50-minute drive to the practice rink. I was staying right by the practice rink, so I had another like hour of buffer time to like start to feel better. So I'm like throwing up, drinking, like laying on my balcony, like trying to get some sun and to feel better. Like it, like not like it's just wasn't working. So about an hour before guys usually show up, I called the trainer and told him what the deal was, and he's pretty much just like, all right, well, like we'll send you some things over. They sent me some pills and some fluids and stuff like that. So I'm trying to house the fluids, feel better. He's like, keep me posted, and I'm like, all day it's just getting worse. It's just the same stuff over and over again. So that was all, and that was for like this was like 3 days probably straight of this now. So I missed game 2, and so now like game three they go to Tampa, and like that day I'm starting to feel a little bit better. So I'm calling the trainers because I obviously want to be around. I'm like, so game 2,
But they
game
hold
2
on.
I felt like
But
crap.
they
Game
also
3
don't want you around, right? They also don't want you around because you're sick.
Exactly. So now, like game 2, of course I'm not gonna be there. I can't stand up. And then the day in between is the travel day. So I'm like, okay, now I'm not gonna travel with the team. So now they're there and they play game 3, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better now. So in between game 3 and 4, I'm starting to feel like relatively fine. But now it's like the whole thing will like internally, I'm like, if I go back and I'm not 100% and I get somebody sick and then it circulates to the whole team, all this time I just missed is like worthless because I could have just been around and got everybody sick then. So now it's like, now I really got to be a good teammate here and be like, hey, even though I want to go and it's a practice day and I miss the guys, I miss being around. It's playoffs. I want to play, and like I got to sit here and do nothing. So now I got a car service up to Tampa, and that was the night of game 3. And that day I was going to practice, but like we kind of agreed that it wasn't right because how I was feeling. So now I'm on the road, isolated. It was kind of like COVID all over again, where I'm finding ways to like go for walks, go for runs, do push-ups and sit-ups in the room, like things where I can like stay, because we're in the middle of playoffs now. And I take a week of laying around. So I had to find ways to like stay engaged and stay like physically active. So game 4 comes. Game 4 was my first day back with the team. I was good enough to come to the skate. Obviously didn't play that game, but came to the skate, watched the game with the boys, and then flew home with the boys. So at least at that point I was back with the guys. And then obviously didn't draw back in for the rest of the series. And obviously that was tough because I knew that on track to winning the Stanley Cup, we were going to have to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning because they stand in our way and they've been champions of the league. And just it wouldn't be right if we didn't beat Tampa. and I wanted to, I just, it was kind of a dragon I wanted to slay. Obviously the boys took care of it. And so it is what it is. But that one hurt the most for sure is, because I think we lost the game before too. And it was kind of Paul's first chance to put me back in. And that was when reality kind of set in that, like, Lorenz is going and it's playoffs, and now we're going with the hot hand. And now it's like, we got a wagon. So, when am I going to draw back in? Like, they're like, obviously not going to run the table, but there's a chance that I don't go back in because of how good the team does. Like, that's like, we're so good that I may not be getting back in here. And, obviously Steve-O was like in that position all damn year. So it was so good knowing that it was him and Oki going in and doing these things, just because of how good of teammates they are. Like, there was never, and they're similar to the way I am, where it's like, if I'm going to get in, it's going to be because I deserve to be in. It's not going to be because this guy gets hurt and, oh, now I get my chance and like all that stuff. Like, no, like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to grind and I'm going to work. And when I get my chance, whenever that is, however it looks, I'm going to be ready for that. And so that helped tremendously, because there was no bad and tight tension or any type of that, between the guys that were going in and out. Like, I would go in and they'd be the first guys to tap me on my shin pads. They would take me out and put them in, and I'd be the first guy over there to tap on the shin pads. Like, so we had that relationship where it was like, you're going to do it or I'm going to do it, but either way, it's going to get done. So
damn right. And that's why you guys won the Stanley Cup, man. That right there, like, that's what the best teams have right there is, you're with these guys, they're your brothers, you're obviously competing for a job, but at the end of the day, if you have good enough teammates, I always tell Z this, like, or he always tells me this, we always tell each other this, it's like, be undeniably great and be a teammate that, like, nobody cannot respect and nobody cannot root for. Because if you just go show up, work your bag off every day, even if you take someone's job in the lineup, like, they're going to fucking respect you and be like, you know what? At least I lost my job today to a guy that works his bag off. I respect him. He's a great guy. He's a great teammate. Like, that does wonders, man. It does, like, because, I mean, we've all been there where you get taken out of the lineup for a guy who you feel like only got in because of his whining and stuff like that, and you don't respect that, but if you have guys in your locker room that, they're just working their bag off and they're earning it, and you guys are switching because you guys are all earning it, like, that's a winning team right there. That bottom six commodity is what makes a winning team. And so kudos to all you guys. But you returned to the lineups for the series clinching Game 6 against the Boston Bruins. What was the feeling like getting the nod that you're back in the lineup, man? That must have been electric.
yeah, it was for sure, because at this point now we're like 2 weeks in between games, right? Like, I played Game 1 first series, now I'm going for Game 6 of round 2.
April 21 to May 17.
Oh. Yeah, almost a month. It's pretty crazy. Obviously just nervous for sure. Obviously Boston is, great team. We upset them, last year, so they have a lot more on the line than just that face value. The fans are obviously electric in that building. TD Garden is definitely one of the hardest places to play. So again, that was kind of one of the Paul's messages to me when things kind of got to their biggest moments was you don't have to do anything crazy, just go be yourself. Be fast, be physical, be a good teammate. But other than that, you don't have to kill anybody and to get everybody fired up. You don't have to fight anybody. You don't have to score crazy goals. Just go be you, and things will work out. So he helped me a lot in that moment, because it was definitely a lot. You want it so bad. You want to do so well to stay in the lineup, and you want to win to advance, and you just want it so bad that nerves get high because you care so much. So I remember that game. I think my average shift time had to have been the lowest in my career, because I was like, I'd go on and I would buzz for 20 seconds. Like, I'm sure some of my shifts were like under 25 seconds, like straight up. like get on the ice, go buzz, hit somebody, and fly off. Because I'm like, and like just game shape, you're not when you're practicing in playoffs, you're not getting these high quality reps that you do get during the season because everybody is in, winded down mode. When it gets to the game time, you dial it up and dial it in and you hit the ground running. But practice days are more relaxed, go through the motions, more of like a flow. So it was tough to stay or get up to game speed and to stay at game speed while not being in for that amount of time. So for me, it was about just, going balls to the wall for a short period of time and getting off. And that way I kind of limited the damage that could have been done. It's, you go on for 20 seconds and you get a good change in for one of your big boys, and chances are it's probably going to work out pretty good. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's a smart way to do it for your first game back out of essentially a little COVID quarantine. And then, so you guys,
Do you have the stats on that on that game, Blatch?
no, not that game, but I got some on the next one. So then you go into the Rangers series. You were part of that clinching game, so you're still in the lineup. That's also something, you're back in for the first time in a while. You're like, boys, let's please win this one. Fellas, let's please win this one. So,
regardless, I could have played great. If we lose, I'm coming out again.
yeah, exactly. Well, once you're in that mix, you're in that mix. That's just how she goes. So then you guys are playing against the Rangers. In game one, Lomberg played 751, had one shot on goal, 3 shot attempts, 1 blocked shot, and a game high 7 hits. Absolutely buzzing and crushing, guys. Paul Maurice said that might be the best game I've seen Lomberg play. In game 2, he was even more noticeable. He played 10 minutes and 29 seconds, had 5 shots on goal and 4 hits, one of which knocked Rangers forward Jimmy Vesey out of the game with an upper body injury and also blew up Mika Zibanejad in the first period. So you played games 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, you guys lose game 2 and 3. And I'm sure when you guys lost game 2, even though you had a great game, you're like, please don't. And then you lose game 3, and sure enough, you're out for the next 7 games in a row. So you're back to this spot where you're like, obviously, boys, like, I understand we obviously need to change something up. I wish it wasn't me, but we got to change something up here because we're losing games. So I understand. But now you're back out, and now you're back in this spot where it's like, am I going to get back in type of thing? Obviously, you're fired up for the boys and the team where you guys are at. You're getting close, but, you got to kind of be going through this mental battle like,
Yeah, it was God, once you kind of get to the conference finals, like you want to win. You're so close. Like you're 8 wins away, so 4 away from the finals. Like it really is just about winning. So like the only thing was like once we started winning and won get to the finals, it's like, okay, now I want to get in at least one game in the finals, just so you can say you played in the finals or did what So like that was like the one thing on the back of my mind, and I know the other guys were thinking about too. Is like, okay, like let's fucking win, but like, God, I hope I get at least one of those. So like that was kind of the only part of it that was like kind of thinking
real
about
quick. Let me interrupt you real quick because people from the outside looking in, Lombo, they don't realize because they see you, Ryan Lomberg, he's on the Florida Panthers. So you could have played 2 games all of playoffs, and the fans would have no idea. At least a good chunk of them would have no idea. If you were there, the game that they went to, they're like, Ryan Lomberg played every game, and he was amazing, and he's my favorite player, right?
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, they don't see these things where, like, when you're going through it, you get scratched one game, and you're like, what's going on here? I really want to be a part of this. But like for everyone else, you are a huge part of it, no matter if you're in that lineup or not. But as a player, that's been through it, I completely understand what you're saying. I just want to clear that up. Like, it's not selfish at all. It's more of like, I want to help the team as much as possible and just be a part of this like beautiful thing that we could maybe accomplish.
Yeah. You said it. It's like more of just that feeling of being a part of it, right? Like it obviously, like you're right. It does from the outside looking in, we're all a part of it, but like internally how you feel about it it would have felt a little bit different, I think, had I not drawn in. That's why as a forward group, we, like the guys that were alternating, me, Oposo, Lorenz, and Cousins, we all got in. And, it was important for us all to know that like we're all good. Because if one of those other three didn't, there would have been a part of me wanting to be like, Paul, like, put this guy in, or like, like I obviously wouldn't have gotten to that. We wouldn't have gone full on Rudy, but like it's just it's better. It's just, yeah, we're very happy that how it worked out. Like all of us would have liked to be in every game, but the fact that we all got to get in games and we all got to be equal parts of it is something that was special for all of us as a fourth line unit.
Yeah, so you're back for Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final. Lomberg has been a healthy scratch for the past 7 games. The Panthers won the first 6, but after losing Game 4 in Edmonton on Saturday, they will opt to return Lomberg to the fourth line with center Kevin Stenlin and forward Kyle Okposo. Obviously, I'm tremendously excited. Said Lomberg, great opportunity for myself and the team here, so it's going to be a tough mix. It's going to be tough to mix in a pregame nap here, but come game time, I'll be ready to go. So, Lombo, you've been out for 7 games in a row, and now if you win tonight, you win the Stanley Cup. Like how do you obviously the team had a chance to do that the game before, and you were in the stands, and you probably had so much nervous energy just even being in the stands. But like now you're in the mix and you guys have a chance to seal the deal, win the Stanley Cup, and you just drew in after 7 games out.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, how it all worked out for sure. Obviously a roller coaster of emotions. You're so excited to get back in and everything that's at stake. You could accomplish this huge task if you win the hockey game, and you don't really think too much about what happens if you were to lose. And unfortunately, we lost that one. And fortunately enough, I was remained in the lineup for Game 6 and Game 7 where we ultimately got it done.
Yeah, and so Game 6, I mean, you guys lose 1-5, and I'm sure you guys all saw what everyone was seeing, which is like it would be the biggest bust in the history if the Florida Panthers lost after being up 3-0. And so, like, after that game in Edmonton, like, you guys are on your way back, and like, is it just a quiet ride, or is there like some guys mixing in a little like, boys, like, we're good here, or is it like when you just get on, it's kind of like maybe just quiet ride for now?
No, so it was actually our team, like, we're kind of different. Like so initially we had like a closed door meeting, just the big boy, just all the boys, no trainers, no anybody. We're like, all right, everybody take a fucking breath. All right, we just got to play our game and we'll be all right. Because it's natural to do something for so long and then things start going drastically differently from how you think they're going to go, and you want to change things and wonder if what you're doing is actually working and stuff. So ultimately, I think we came to the conclusion that we weren't playing to our identity, and we really realized if we do that, then we will win. So nobody was panicked, nobody was anything. Obviously, there was a tremendous amount of outside, I wouldn't say pressure, but just everybody knew the gravity of the situation, that if we were to lose the next game, then we would have lose the biggest opportunity of our lifetime. We'd probably never be in that position again and all that stuff. So we were all well aware of it. So we had a meeting, we squashed it, and it kind of just set the tone. Like, listen, boys, everybody just relax. We're gonna have a good, day of recovery. We're gonna have a good practice day, and then it's gonna be Game 7. Like, this is still, and I would say it around the locker room just to kind of jack the boys up again. Like, you're kidding if you aren't excited about a Game 7 Stanley Cup final. Like, yeah, we were up 3-0. Yeah, we lost the last 3, but like, who gives a fuck? Like, it's Game 7. of the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, this is like the coolest game ever. Like, if you would have drawn up the start of the year, every hockey player everywhere would take that situation. Just because we lost 3 in a row, obviously it hits a little bit different. But in reality, one game to win the Stanley Cup, like that's the coolest thing ever. And now they have a hint of pressure because it's their first closeout game. It's the first time they can see the Stanley Cup and see themselves winning it. Like, so there was, a shift. There's almost like a freedom for us realizing, like, hey, this is the last game no matter what. Whether we win or lose, this is the end of the road. So how are we going to go about it? And then the drive when we left Game 6, first of all, it's like not even a quarter of a mile from the arena to the hotel. It took us maybe 20 minutes. I don't know if they don't do like police escorts like in Edmonton or whatever, but the streets were flooded with Oiler fans. Everybody flipping us off. Like, it was a scene out of like Slapshot. Like, it was insane. Like, people running after the bus, like yelling at us. And some of the guys are like, whatever, not paying attention. Some of the guys are like standing up. I'm like standing up, like loving it. Like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, occasionally maybe throw a bird around or two, but just like loving it. Like, and it just gave us a little bit of fuel. I mean, not much. We didn't really need much because it was Game 7 Stanley Cup Finals, but gave us a little fuel going into Game 7 to make sure we send the message. And yeah, it was it was crazy, the ups and downs and the roller coaster of it all. But going into 7, I don't think there was really any panic. I mean, that group, when your back's up against the wall, well, there wouldn't be a situation where I wouldn't pick us to come out of it, because we knew when it came down to it, we would get it done. And just the fashion we did it 2-1. The saying all year has been, you try to win the game 2-1 filled. You just grease one out. You play defense, you score one, then you get a lucky one. They get a power play goal or stick play, and you grease out another one. Like, it's 2-1 filth all year, and we end up winning the Stanley Cup on
Crazy.
On a 2-1 filth game.
Crazy. And let me just walk you through it. So the game, by the way, holy shit. The cheapest ticket in the house was like $1,500, bro. It was unbelievable. Yeah, Z.
The guy that I work with who runs the rink, he is from up Edmonton. He flew him and his 3 sons down to Florida and bought a ticket for Game 7. Shout out to the Ponds and OC and the boys. But they flew down there for Game 7 and came back the next day. Holy fuck. Heart's broken.
Wait. So
yeah, that's tough.
The tickets, the cheapest ticket I think was $1,500. And when I used to go to Panther games when I was younger, $7. I'm getting the nosebleed tickets. And then as you're going up to the nosebleeds, the people that are working at the rink are like begging you, like, please go fill the lower bowl. Please go fill the lower bowl for the TV. So I'm like, all right, let's go. So we fill the lower bowl for $7. Fast forward to now, Game 7, $1,500 for a nosebleed ticket. But anyway, that's beside the point. Doesn't matter to you because you're on the sheet, baby. So first goal, Verhaeghe tipped, shot by Rodriguez. And I'm watching this. I'm thinking, let's go. Thank God. First goal is huge, especially after everything the Cats have been through. And then, boom, right away, Janmark ties it up. And so you're 1-1 going into the second period. And then 4:49 left in the second, Sam Reinhart scores a squeaker shot. You're going into the third period, 2-1. What's that locker room like going into the third?
It's it's excited. Obviously, this is our game. Like, this is our position. We just lock it down. We don't need to score anymore. And that's always kind of the mentality that gets you in trouble when you sit back too much. But our game was always come out together, go in together, rim it, get it back. It was a pretty tight game. So when I say, we don't have to score anymore, it's not like we were sitting back. We were just playing to our identity. We weren't cheating. Everybody was playing, defense first. And as the minutes tick on, the other, the big boys on the other side, they're going to wear down because their team changes whether they're up or down in the game, right? Because if they're leading early, they can play all four lines. But if they're behind, then they need to play their big boys, especially in a game 7. So we knew as the game went on, they would wear down just because they're. I don't know how much they played, but it's probably well over 20 minutes, both of them. So one of them is on the ice, for pretty much the whole game, unless they're running them together. So you just you wear them down. They're getting worn down. You got to stay tight. Don't make any glaring mistakes. Like, mistakes happen. If they're tiny mistakes, it's not going to end up in the back of your net. That's kind of our game, is you don't make crazy dangerous plays ever. That's never really an option. So nobody's going to make a mistake like that. It was more so just shutting them down. And obviously you're playing against two of the most gifted offensive players maybe ever. So it's a lot harder than it sounds. And they still got looks. They still got chances. And ultimately, when you got Bobrovsky in the cage, and you have that situation, and he was just ready for that moment, and he brought us home.
It's crazy. 7 minutes left. McDavid had a nice little chance in front, man. He did a little shimmy shake. Bobrovsky was on the ice. He was like this, and the puck just slides across the crease. And so time wounding down, I think it was like hemmed in. I think it was in the Panthers zone in the corner. And so, like, you guys on the bench are just like 10 seconds left. Like, and then, a buzzer goes off. You're Stanley Cup champions. Like, that's walk us through that. Just the buzzer going down, your emotions on the bench, hopping off the bench.
Oh, crazy. So, like, initially it's just relief, because, like, I'm watching the last 7 minutes along with everybody else around the world. Like, I'm not touching the sheet. We know we're not touching the sheet. So now it's just about sitting down. If you need to open that door quickly, you better be ready to open that door quickly. And just watching the boys grind and get it done. And when you got Barkey and Chucky and Forsling and Ekblad, there's not too much to worry about. So obviously you got McDavid and Draisaitl, and they're chomping at the bit, but our team defensively was so strong, so sound. Everybody could have done the job. That it was obviously nerve-wracking watching, but had all the confidence in the world they'd be getting it done. And it's just about watching, like you said, the seconds tick off, the clock tick off. And then it gets to the point where you're like, last rush, and there's like 12 seconds. They pick it up, they come down. Now it's like 8 seconds, the puck's in the corner. You're like, check it. And then when it gets around like 2 seconds, you're like, about to throw a leg over, and yeah, I don't even remember hearing the buzzer or the horn or anything. I remember is stepping on and yard selling my stick about as high as I possibly could, and then just heading for the pile.
Dude, that's insane. And also, like, I don't know where you were in order, but I mean, lifting the cup on the ice, probably pretty heavy, especially like on skates and stuff. Were you a little like, my shoulder, or you don't feel?
Oh, dude, first to go back to the initial celly, like, I was like getting lightheaded and stuff, because all you're like exhausted from jumping and yelling and grabbing guys, and like it's so intense, and you're yelling so loud, and you're like tearing up, and you're like lightheaded. It's like I had to take like a few breaths every once in a while and just like make sure I was like okay, because the things that are going on around you are like so spectacular. It's like hard to even take in, and then you grab this cup, and like it's like fucking 3 times heavier than you would imagine it is. Like, I don't know who the hell said it's light when it ain't light. It's not light. So I'm like, so you put it up initially, and you're like, okay, like it's pretty heavy, but I got this. And then like, you keep it up, and your shoulders start to burn. And now I'm like, I'm doing another lap, and I'm like worried about if this thing like goes like behind my head, like now I might be going down, or my shoulders are going out. And it's like thinking about like, do you let go or do you hold on to it? And it's like it was a lot, man. It was heavier than people think. I mean, obviously the coolest thing ever. But yeah, definitely a little bit more worried about my shoulders than I thought I was going to be.
Dude, that's great insight, because I always wondered that. Like, you see these guys carrying the cup around, they say it's 30 pounds, but like like for sure everyone's thinking that when they have the cup over their head, they're like, yeah, and then they're like, oh wait, whoa, like you know, like make sure
You're on one leg.
Yeah.
level.
Yeah, and you don't want to be that guy, right? Going down with it, like I'd rather somebody else be that guy. So I
Yeah,
don't.
you don't want to be that guy. But so Lombi, that's unbelievable. You're Stanley Cup champ. I mean, unreal parade. You guys were up early at the elbow room and just a sick parade for the Florida people, although it was raining like crazy. I got a question. When's your day with the cup and what are you planning to do with it?
So I got it August 23rd. We're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be going to police department in the morning, sharing it with them. We're gonna invite their families to come out, so their kids and stuff will be able to have an opportunity to take pictures with it and stuff. You know, being down here for the last handful of years, I've grown some great relationships with some of the law enforcement down here, and they've done so much for us through the years. So to be able to kind of share something like that with them is something I'm very much looking forward to do for them. And then moving on to the rest of the day, I believe it's looking like we're going to do a bit of a golf thing. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure the setup yet, but we'll have the cup out on the golf course, and then it's looking like we're going to do something just around our community here. You know, Florida's been home for us. Our kids are born here, and the people mean so much to us. So to be able to kind of have a day where we're giving it back to the people that have made it special for us is something we're excited to do.
Yeah, I mean, Lombo, man, I can't thank you enough. Like, you know, on behalf of like Panthers fans, even because I consider myself a Panther fan, you know, everything you've done in the community, you know, the Panthers Warriors charity game that we played in the other night, like it really showed like all those guys were so grateful for you and the impact you had. You probably did a handful of events because the amount of pictures that they had with you is was a lot. So, you know, it just goes to show like what kind of guy you are and like the value that you add to a community and a team. Also, a huge member of Team Blatchy in the SoFlo League. Obviously, want to thank you for joining our league. You know, just another thing that you do in the community and put in work with the fellas. So, yeah, man. I mean, I don't know if Zia has anything else, but like we covered pretty much your whole career so far. You know, congratulations on the new deal, 2x2. It back in Calgary where it all started, going back with a little different role. And man, I couldn't be more excited for you, Lombo. You're a fucking hell of a guy. And just thanks, brother. Really appreciate you.
Loms, you're the man. I'm so thankful you came on. I learned a lot. Know a lot of other guys did too. You are living proof you can grind in the minors, earn your way to the next level through hard work and passion, and ultimately be rewarded with the greatest trophy in sports, a Stanley Cup. Congratulations again. Appreciate you coming on, Lombo.
Hell yeah, boys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, and I'll see you at SoFlo on Wednesday there, Blotchy.
Yeah, you will. We need a big day out of all of us. And, you know, your day with the Stanley Cup is August 23rd. Hopefully we get you a day with the SoFlo Cup the next day on the 24th and make it just as good.
Hell yeah, boys. All right, well, I appreciate it, fellas.
Hey, you're the man, Lombo.
See you, boys.